I'm here with my pal, Edie Berg, who we met at Podcast Movement years ago, and you're one of the people I really look forward to seeing there every year.
Hey, Kate. Me too.
And you
Me too.
live,
So
where
fun
do you
to
live?
talk
You
to
live in
you.
Tel Aviv, is that right?
I live just north of Tel Aviv, in Herzliya, in Israel, not far from the coast.
Someday
Yeah,
I'm going to visit you, and that
you
is
have
a
to come.
promise. So let's talk about transitioning niches, because this is something that I notice is really to me, it's something that I think women might be actually more facile at than men, is
Mhm.
not being attached to an idea of where they thought their career might go, or where they thought, for entrepreneurs, who they thought their niche market might be, but having like a bit of a facility with, hey, what am I doing next? Who do I want to be next? In yoga healer world, we talk a lot about identity evolution and allowing a lot of flexibility of character, as actually a sign that we're on a growth path, that we're not fixed. We're not in a fixed idea of like, this is who I am, this is who I'm always going to be,
Yeah.
this is how the world works.
Wow, that's fantastic because that means like I'm like I've grown, grown. I should be like 30 feet tall because I've done that many times, but I'm not. I'm like 5'6". So, but I love the way that you look at that, in that it's not a disability. I used to think about it as kind of a disadvantage, and especially in my career path, when you think that you should. Really, stick at one place, stay there for a long time. And then if you shift to something that's very, very similar, and have a minor change, right? Or get a small promotion and you're in that same corporation, and another promotion and the kind of same thing. And then that would be an advantage, because in that same corporation, if you stick with it, then you could get very high, far.
Yeah.
Now that's probably true for very large, kind of more stagnant, old-fashioned corporations. But that's not true for my life, and I guess not for the people who are listening to your program, because they're looking for something that fits into their own personalities and their own desires, and those things do shift and they do change. And people, when you're a different person when you're 25 years old or when you're 45 years old, or right, and all the time. So I have, in my own personal career, and not just my career, in my life, I have switched many times. And now I'm 51 years old, and I'm seeing it as a huge advantage, which is a pleasure, really, right?
Right.
Right. So it's really kind of coming into. I'm like a kind of a little bit of a late bloomer in that respect, but somebody, in fact, I was just talking to somebody from a very prestigious MBA program here in Tel Aviv, and she was saying that that's exactly the type of person that they're looking for. They don't want to have people who have been doing the same thing over and over again with a different title, right? So, right. So I can tell you, if you're interested, a little bit about what I did. I don't know if that's
sure. Yeah.
relevant. So I'll try to do it really quickly. But I studied at university. I studied physical therapy. And then right away I went into my first job. I studied in Australia, but my first job was in Canada, and they needed a head of rehab, right, for my first job. So I was a head of rehab. So I went straight into management and kind of skipped over a little bit the nuts and bolts of therapy at that stage. But went into management. So I had the physical therapy background and desire and interest and stuff. But went into management. And then I took that management and I turned it. Was in a couple of home care and things like that. And then I turned that into a catering company. I was a private chef for many years, and specialized in all kinds of specialty diets, and teaching cooking to children, and to adults. And I was in the BVI, traveling as a private chef, and all kinds of. I mean, it was fun, right? But the management from the physical therapy was useful, right, for having your own company. And then that's kind of an entrepreneurial thing too. And you also learn as you need, right? As you whatever you need, you learn as you grow and as you do. And then I transferred from that. I ended up managing a very prestigious cybersecurity company here in Israel, which has nothing to do with anything, except that I already had that management and that skill set that they were looking for, a totally different business. And then after that, I basically started the Strong Women's Club, which is what I'm doing now. So that's what you're talking about, fluidity and zigzagging and not having a straight path. But it's, first of all, life is interesting, right? And so it's number one, I think, right, for me at least. Yeah. Especially if you can make a buck, right? If you can, live. So, that's and it's exciting for me that suits who I am. I get bored really, really fast. I like to learn new things really fast. I mean, often. So I think I would encourage people like you are to embrace, not be afraid of that side of themselves, right? To let that in, be open, basically. I mean, be open to opportunities. It's kind of scary a little bit and frightening and the unknown, but it's definitely makes for a good time.
Well, I mean, it really kind of speaks to like the number of people that are like anxious or depressed or having a lot of it's just where they're just really not stoked. They don't wake up and be like, oh, I'm stoked. I get to go to work. Like I love what I do. And
I've done that too. I can say I did that too, but then I left, right? You have to be able to recognize that.
You got to be able to recognize that. And I think that's the thing. Is like what you said, life is interesting. And your life should be interesting. Our life should be interesting. And if they're not, like we got to take control of like what is interesting next and not be not so fixed. And to me, there is a lot of beliefs around what success should be, and I noticed I work with a lot of women too, from ages. We just had a retreat. We had women their ages 21 to about mid 60s, and even women whose parents have been dead for 20 years, they're still operating under some of the success beliefs of their dead parents.
Oh, that is so true,
right? And so there's this thing of what success looked like for my parents. My dad worked, my mom didn't. What looked like for success in career was modeled different by my dad. And he stayed in the same same vein, went from engineer to sales to management.
That is so funny. My dad is also an engineer. Sorry, I'm gonna.
I know we have here. So much in common. It's awesome.
But we just know about that. But it is awesome, and I struggle with that.
That is cool.
That also myself, I like fighting against that in a conscious level, not on a subconscious level. Like, say, break away from it. You have to all the time. It's even if you. I mean, you should. A grown up, right? I'm a grown up. But why?
Got 4 kids, right? I mean,
we're also grown up.
We're also
almost,
right?
So
when we look at this stuff, I mean, to me, that's where it gets really fascinating. And my sense is like the entrepreneurs have a specific advantage in that if they're growing, if their company that they have is growing, their job changes all the time.
Yes.
Because whoever they were a year before, whatever the size of their company, whatever the responsibilities were, et cetera, like that changes fairly dramatically. Sometimes quarter by quarter, sometimes, in like 6 months or 9 months, but it's pretty short. Whereas a lot of people just stay in the same role that they know is stagnating. They know they're not that psyched on. They're curious about other things, but maybe they turn those curiosities off because they're not manageable with the kids and work. And
right. It's easy
balance.
Sometimes it's easier said than done. You have to be fair, but because it is easy. It can't just, quit your job and start something new because, you feel like it. So it is easy. It takes a lot of planning and knowing yourself better and better as time goes on. Yeah. And I think also, as we spoke of before we started talking, before we started recording, that women tend to have this in their careers, I think, more often than men. I don't know if your listeners are more women than men.
Yeah, definitely.
But
I would say we're probably like 98% female. I mean, it's crazy. It is. Totally,
really?
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Because, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. In our course members and everything, even though there's no like pink and purple in my brand, none.
No, I know. No, I know.
And I'm not particularly feminine.
I'm exactly the same. It's called the Strong Women's Club, but I try very hard to stay away from all of it. I mean, I'm not, look at me.
I know.
I mean, so like it's so frustrating sometimes that that these are sometimes considered feminine traits, I guess. So if we're talking about fluidity in a career path, then what I wanted to say is that women more often are open to that type of fluidity, and sometimes it's forced upon them because of the life cycle, because they have babies, because they have and they want to
right.
They have that pool also that men are just starting to have now, are starting to be aware of now, and starting to share more in. That's a huge change now in society, or especially I know that here in Israel, all of the young families, I have a lot of friends who are in their like late 20s, early 30s that I work out with, right? So, and they're all very, very equal in maternity leave, if they can be, or paternity leave, I should say, and parental leave. They're very definitely equal in the care of children. And I think that opens up for men a lot of opportunities to be more fluid in their careers and to have those choices, the same as women are lucky in that way. And they kind of, sometimes they can just really do have the choices. They don't have the weight of the household, of being the main breadwinner in the home. So that's also changing. So women will be able to earn more money, be the main breadwinners in the home, and the men will be able to be more connected with the family life.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and I mean, it's an interesting thing to see too. Again, like back to like the beliefs and the assumptions. Like for me, it was like I always earned more than my husband. You know what I mean? So I was like, it never occurred to me to not, you know what I mean? To like for us to.
So let me ask you though, how if you go ahead,
yeah.
sorry.
No, you go.
It's because I'm a podcaster. I'm like so used to asking the questions, but so you coming out of a traditional family lifestyle.
But I really wanted to throw the assumptions on their head. Like I really didn't want tradition. I probably rebelled against traditional roles, but that was so empowering for me, you know. And even though now, I mean, I've made a lot of money in the business does well and whatnot, and increasingly does over time. But like, I kind of was on a more of like a natural, like yogic minimalist lifestyle early on. And that enabled a lot of like, again, this facility of choice of like, right. Because I had really like very high fulfillment, really low needs.
Right.
Right. And my sense is like, that's another massive opportunity here is like, the whole materialism paradigm that has swept the planet. More goods are available cheaper than ever. So like our material needs are so much truly if like we're not wrapped up in the new car and the new shirt and the new whatever, right? Like it's easier to clothe your family than it's ever been, or to get used appliances or whatever it is, like to take care of those needs. It's like it's never been less expensive in the sort of like post-materialism paradigm. There's technology that is so affordable, like crazy affordable compared to historically, right? Like where anyone can pick up a Chromebook for $125 or $50 used, right? And like get on the web and start creating products and start to
for free
and start to just generate value, generate revenue. So like there's all these barriers that are so much less. So to me, there's this incredible invitation in this day and this age that really is no gender bias, that really is just incredibly low barrier to entry that we've just never seen before. So to me, what that brings up is then a lot of limitations people place on themselves by thinking that they need to earn a certain amount of money to have a certain kind of a lifestyle or blah, blah, blah. Like that's what I like to poke holes in.
Yeah.
Are you
I
sure?
think, right. Exactly. No, that's very, very true what you're saying. You need to have a lot of inner strength to go against your environment in that situation where you're saying, I want to make good money so that I can have incredible experiences. I don't want to make, I'm not, right? It's not for me making money so I could just gather more shit. Excuse me. I don't know. But, right. So,
yeah.
That's so you need to be very, very strong in your inner self to be able to do that, and to have good partners in your life, people who are close to you who are on board with that, and then everything is everything is possible. Everything is possible.
So I'm curious about with the work that you've done with women, and then just also in your own life, as far as like judgment against changing paths, like, and how that triggers other people's insecurities or beliefs that might really go against yours, or the women you're working with that are like making changes based on what they want to do next.
Right. I have to say that in my own life, I have never been held back. Well, I don't know, maybe I just didn't even notice because right. So, because that's just right. So I just do, basically I have changed according to my own whim. I mean, that's saying it flippantly. It's not really a whim, but sometimes it is, right? If somebody, I changed a career because I met somebody in an elevator, right? So, but that's how things happen.
Yeah.
That's how things happen. So that's called an opportunity. I mean, I'm not special in that way, but
you're open in that way.
I'm open to that. I like that. That suits me. I haven't had backlash in my own personal life against that kind of thing. Quite the opposite. There is always a question: is how am I going to make money? I mean, I can't ignore that side of things, right? So it's important. It's important. I have to contribute to I have 4 children, like you said. It's not like we have to eat, so we have to be able to do things. And so there's always that calculation that you have to take into, serious consideration. But when you are a thinking person, then you figure things out, and you're open. Right? Maybe it's not exactly 100% what you wanted to do, but maybe it's 75% or 80%, or you can see that if you start at 30%, the next year it'll be 55%, and the following year it'll be 80%, right? So there's some kind of a trajectory, but there's something that it's a question of choice. And I think if you take a fraction, like I just said, in fractions, like if you don't have to be like all black and white. You can take a fraction of what you want to do and start doing things. Like if you're like in a terrible position, and you don't want to go to work every morning, and your boss is down on your neck all the time, and you really can't, you really hate your life, and you're not smiling in the morning, then you really are responsible for getting yourself out of that. So, I don't want to say it in a mean way, but I do. That's what I believe. So try to help yourself in a million different ways. You can listen to podcasts that are for free that will help you to do that. You can make friends with people who are positive influences in your life and not bringing you down. And then all those little things that kind of add up to taking you to that next level. Or if you're in a terrible relationship, you have to get out of it. Right? You just have to. Yeah. So, right. And then you get through the hard part, and then you're a better person for it. Even, it could have made you a better person that you would have been without those terrible experiences. So, that's my philosophy for other people who want to make a change, who are excited about making, or feel stuck, but need to make a change in their lives. Like you said, they're anxious or depressed, and they have it's a much bigger picture. It's not something for a 20-minute podcast, or, for this section of a podcast, but you need to be able to be open to, like if you listen to the Yoga Healer, which I have been for a lot lately, then really, that for free, you can turn your life all the way around. You just have to be open to it.
I mean, isn't that the truth? Like and that kind of goes back to what I was saying before. Like it's never taken fewer resources
right.
to be able to exchange more value
incredible.
in the marketplace. It's pretty
amazing. Most people have a cell phone. Most people, really.
Yeah. And
really.
So to me, like, this really brings up like how if you're not super facile, like if you're not really available to what you're interested in. I mean, in tantric philosophy, which is an evolution in yoga philosophy about 10,000 years ago, there's this understanding that it basically duality became non-dual, right? So instead of it like good, bad, right, or wrong, it was like everything is knit together by the same consciousness, and the way it speaks through evolution is through desire, which is really a very powerful thought. Like, what if what I want to do is what the universe wants me to do? Like, what if that's my radar is desire?
Wow.
Right? Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't understand Tantra, but like that's the core of it. And it doesn't have that much to do with sex in the long run. Like it has a lot more to do with awakening your sentient cellular infrastructure to attune.
Right. So you can be aware of yourself, know yourself. Like I'm
know the bigger,
with the jargon,
right? Know the connection, like know from a place of interconnectedness. Like I want more of that. So this retreat we just had, we have 2 retreats a year for course members. And the experience of deep interconnectivity and how that gives rise to collective leadership has never been so evident to me. I mean, we do these retreats and we aim for that. We know what we're aiming for based on collective awakened desire and through a lot of skillfulness and preparation, right? Mm-hmm. And when that happens, the experience is like there's so much that's able to happen so much faster and so much easier. And there's so much more availability to actual value being exchanged. Right? So it's like, it's easier to do whatever it is you want to be doing and make the more money that you want to be making because you're just so much more available and interconnected and led from a place of interconnectivity.
The clearness, the kind of a light, a vision, right? That you have, right? That's people don't. I mean, it's incredible that you're doing this for people because this is what people want. Everybody.
We all want. I want more of it.
Everybody.
I know. I came back of like I need to be doing more. I need to be doing more live events. I need to be doing more of this. But I just want to go back to too, like when I was, if I think back to like 15 years ago, when I was doing a lot of body work. I was doing a lot of Ayurvedic body work. I was doing a lot of one-on-one work with clients, doing a lot of like detox work with people, more or less with wealthy people because they could afford this like high intensive, incredibly nourishing experience. And I'd be doing this and I'd just be like, I want to be working with more people. Like I like the one-on-one felt so claustrophobic to me. And I loved my clients and I still love them.
Of course.
They're dear friends. And it had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
But it had everything to do with me listening and me asking, what would I rather be doing? And just writing that down. What would I rather be doing? And writing that, and then just Xing off my calendar so that more and more time was to, what I loved doing was building this platform back then.
Right. So what did you do at the retreat? Like, how did you get there in a nutshell?
Well, so in the courses, people are living the habits that are outlined in my book, Body Thrive. Like everyone's already doing a lot of attunement to self-optimization through the natural rhythms of being a human on planet Earth. So those habits, and that helps. Like I was thinking, Winston and I were talking about it this morning. I was like, how could I do that with a group of non-course members? And I'm like, I don't think
beginners.
I would have to have an onboarding. There would have to be an onboarding process before we met up of like
another one, a separate retreat, like a separate course or a separate retreat or a separate thing.
Like a lower,
different levels.
Different levels. But then once, it's like then when we're together, just there's pointing attention to what's possible, pointing attention to what we know, and we use different models. Like I love spiral dynamics from Don Beck, and I love the 4 quadrants model from Ken Wilber. I like a lot of the modeling from yoga and Ayurveda, like the 5 kosha model from Ayurveda is very powerful. So just in attuning people to models of like, hey, there's a lot of there's a lot of different systems of belief in this cosmos of ours, and let's pay attention to these. So let's get the same mental maps. So let's get on the same page. And in that, we're setting some beliefs and assumptions like there's multiple layers. It's pretty complex, but there's certain truths that have held true for a while now.
Or built for everybody, for most people.
Yeah, for everybody.
Incredible.
And let's explore like where we're going next and what's possible as a group. And let's really start to present what we each want here. And let's be able to feel into each other's wants and actually own them as our own, which is, a fairly evolved thing to be able to do.
It's hard to get to.
Yeah, right? But then now we've set a stage for something else to happen. We know where the collective desire is too, because when a group of people is speaking from that place, you hear a lot of similar
the same
things.
Thing. Yeah.
And now like, oh, that's not just me. I don't just want that.
Right.
Like, we're in this. So where
that
is
is
this
so
going
strong.
through us?
Yeah, so strong. So strong. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I'm curious about too, because I know you've talked with a lot of women through the Strong
Women's Club. Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm curious about is like where, for people that are sort of have this like sort of facility of character of like not knowing where this whole thing's going next, not even knowing where necessarily their own career path is going next, but what is happening in terms of leadership with people that are actually open and available and curious and not coming from a pre-programmed like, this is what leadership looks like.
I'm finding that the women leaders that are in all different fields have an inner strength that is unshakable. Like it's not that they don't have imposter syndrome. It's not that they don't have, they don't have doubts. They don't have, but it's not the same of lack of confidence that you find in people who are not leaders. Right? It's a different thing, and it's not something that's unattainable. It is certainly attainable. It's something that you can learn. You don't have to be a natural leader. It is something that you can learn.
Yeah.
Right. So it's true that some people have more charisma than others, but those people who aren't like the super charismatic ones draw people to them who like to be with people like that, right? So they are leaders of just a different type of person.
Yeah.
And right. So I have found that if you are ambitious, if you have that desire, as you said, right, then you can. It doesn't matter who you are, you can do it. It's just a process, right? It's just take another course, grab onto another group, or something learn, develop yourself, grow,
right?
Have the right partner in your life, if you want, right? Have the right people surrounding you. It's really important to have good people surrounding you.
Yeah.
It's really one of the most.
To me speaks to ambitious, like bringing up ambition. Like people tell me all the time that I awaken their ambition. So it's. And I'm not sure if I don't want to take credit for that, but it's like if you hang out with ambitious people, your ambition will be awakened. If you hang out with unambitious people, like guess what? You're making it a lot harder for your ambition to be awakened.
For yourself.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to find your tribe. You have to find the people who you're like-minded, common people. You'll have a lot more fun. You'll enjoy the conversation. You'll get further without even trying. Without even trying.
And it's so much more fun. Yeah.
Right. So that's I've spoken to a lot of different women, and you know what? None of them have been cutthroat. None of them have been bitches. None of them are need to stand on other people's heads to get taller. You don't need that. They're not looking for that. They don't need that. You can be very collaborative and still get ahead. Right, you don't have to put other people down to be very well. It's actually the opposite, of course. Right, if you let other people shine, you look a lot better. Yeah. So people will follow you even more. So yeah, that has been an eye opener. A lot of women will say, don't live without regret. Make sure they don't do guilt. They don't do any of that stuff. They're not feeling bad about what they're doing. They make choices and they stick with them. They don't have that inner conversation, which a lot of people do have. So you need to get rid of it. You need to be able to get rid of it. That is
so huge. I notice for me when I use reflection to, and it could be like in the past, it could have been guilt or it could have been regret. Instead, it's like, can I actually get deep underneath like what it is and what the next action is, right? So it's incredibly proactive. And that, just to point out like what you were saying before, like that's a learned behavior. Like those women, my guess are they had to learn that behavior because they realized that like not processing it and not then aligning their next action was less efficient.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just exactly, and everybody makes mistakes and everybody fails and but they're the one they don't dwell on it. They don't. They cry, but for 10 minutes and not 10 days, and then and then get on with it because that's what you need to, if you can, just do that, right? To be aware of it and do it. Don't get. Even if you're faking it, that kind of thing, when they say fake it till you make it, I don't mean fake your skills, learn the skills, but there's some confidence things that you can fake, right?
Well,
you can.
It's funny. We do a lot of improv at our retreats. That's another thing that we do because of that faking it part of like, you can actually practice this facility of character. You know what I mean? Like you can start to act like someone you want to be next. And the better you get at trying on different facial expressions, like trying on different, ways of walking and different ways of standing and different ways of moving. And do you want to come say hi to the podcast, Yoga, at Lil Indy?
Hi, sweetie.
This is Edie.
Hi.
Hi, gorgeous.
Okay. Did you find them?
No, where are they?
They're in the little mail slot thingy. Above the counter where the markers and the sticky notes are. They're in the mail slot thingy. She's selling gymnastic tickets. She made team, and so now they have
cool
performances and stuff and meets, and so they're gonna go.
She's very sweet.
Hit up the neighborhood.
Yeah, everybody. Who could say no to her?
Who could say no to her?
Who could say nobody?
Bring your friend, bring your sidekick, your reinforcement, and you guys will just go totally. Well, plus they'll do like hand spray. They'll give them a show in the front yard
there
as
you go.
a preview as to what they do at the team performance.
They should say, you don't have to pay me, just give me a tip. And then
But it's like that kind of thing. Like she wanted, I mean, it kind of goes to that. Who do you need to be in this situation, right? Like who, and in this facility of character of like if I think especially for anyone who wants to be on a more rapid growth path, or especially if we want to like exchange more value in the marketplace, like we want to earn at a level we're not earning at yet. It's like start to get really interested in this facility of like what do I need to be open next? Who do I need to become next? What skills does that person have? What relationships does that person have? Like who do they hang with? Who are the favorites on their iPhone?
Right.
Right.
And then you will be, or just be smart enough to know what you need and what you can't do. Right. The skills. Right. You can't do everything, but
you can't do everything. Don't want to.
Who wants to? Not me.
All right, I gotta go run a team meeting. I have had a blast connecting with you, and I just want to follow where you go next in this next invention of the Strong Women's Club.
I know it's evolving. We're in season 3 now, so whole different story than it was in season 2. But
cool.
It's fun and it is cool. So thanks for having me on the show, Kate. It's fun.
Yay! You're welcome. All right, I think this is going to come out pretty soon. So,
cool, thanks. Yeah, I hope it was what you were looking for.
No, I think it's really good. I think it's fun conversation. I like conversations.
Just conversation, exactly. Me too.